Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this.
Randolph, let's start with you. North Carolina here at 24. The idea here is that they got rid of maybe a bad partner and a bad marriage up there in Chapel Hill. Are you buying that this is going to be a different team now that Caleb Love is playing somewhere else?
I think it'll be a different team, but I don't think it's just because Caleb Love is gone. I mean, I think they're just going to be a deeper team. Whatever went on with them last year, they had some issues, but we know that team is not void of talent. You're still going to have and Armando Bacot is going to put up player of the year numbers. R.J. Davis, we know he's the real deal. He's a legit guard. Let's see what the transfers do. I'm a big proponent of, I think and Matt, you know this, when you're dealing with guys that come in for 1 year, they tend to wait before they establish leadership. I think Cormac Ryan is a guy that if they just can follow, if he's willing to step up and be a leader to that team, then I think we got him ranked too low. Then I think they're a team that talent-wise, they're a top 10 talent-wise, and I think in the country.
I'm 100% in agreement with Randolph here, and I said this. I said this in the offseason that I think the combination of getting rid of Caleb Love, and we can talk about this at length later, but I don't think like getting rid of is the right way to say it. That's right. A divorce that needs to happen, right? But I think that allowing R.J. Davis to kind of step into more of a leadership offensively role, right? Be able to embrace what Armando Bacot is inside, lean into some of these transfers. Like they added shooters, they added switchable pieces, they added guys that can play different positions. I think Jalen Withers is going to be effective in a role at the 4 spot. I think Harrison Ingram is a guy. Look, he was a McDonald's All-American, right? A 5-star recruit. So I like what we built there, or what Hubert has built there. And look, I think that they can finish second in the ACC is where I would have them. I don't know if that's a crazy take, but I think that they're like a top 12-ish kind of a team, Matt.
Yeah, that is exactly right. Okay, so you're going to get the first crack at these next 5, Matt. We got Kentucky at 15th, Miami at 14, Arizona at 13, Texas at 12, Gonzaga at 11. Look, we're going to talk about Kentucky quite a bit on this show and all season long, and it's really interesting. You bring in DJ Wagner, you bring a couple of returners back there, and Antonio Reeves. You add Trey Mitchell. Some questions still, of course, remain about the eligibility of a couple of guys, but on the surface, what do you make of this Kentucky roster?
Well, I think Cal kind of got back to who he is, right? Taking McDonald's All-Americans, taking high-profile freshmen, and trying to mold them into a team. Trey Mitchell obviously being a veteran, Reeves being a veteran, but he's kind of gotten back to what he did when he's always had success in college as a head coach. It's taking really, really talented guys and building them into a team. I think the biggest thing for them is, what's everyone's role? How do they define that? Last year it was like, we got to dump the ball inside of Shigwe. How are we doing that? Can they make perimeter shots? All those types of things. But I think from a chemistry standpoint, I think from a connectedness standpoint in the locker room, this is Cal's team again. And this is what's made him so successful in college, is taking these high-profile guys. Look, Trey Mitchell, I coached him at UMass for 2 years. He's a high-character guy. He's a locker room guy. So any of these high-profile players that are coming in, Trey's going to fit in with them. He is. And Reeves seems like the same way. So I think they've got the right team. I think they've got the right pieces around those guys. And I'm really anxious to see how it plays out. But Cal got back to doing what has made him so successful. And, we'll see how it plays out.
As talented as that lineup is, my question to you guys is, who has the ball in his hand? Who's the point guard of this group?
There's 9 guys that think they do.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, I just wonder, I mean, somebody's got to have the ball in their hand.
Right.
But I think RC too. I do think this. I think like when you have older veteran guys, I think sometimes that can create issues. I think these guys are so young; they're just going to do whatever Cal tells them to do, and that's been his best teams. Is when you go back to that team with Anthony Davis and all those guys. I mean, You didn't really question it then. It was Kid Gilchrist. It was Anthony Davis. They were just young and listening to whatever Cal was yelling at on the sidelines. When you got older veterans, sometimes that kind of creeps in. I mean, look at it from this standpoint. Last year they had 8 upperclassmen, and I'm including walk-ons when you look at their roster. They had 8 upperclassmen. This year they only have 4, and really the only 2 that are getting on the floor are Trey Mitchell and Reeves.
And I'm also talking about DJ Wagner and Dillingham. It was my question, I guess, which one of those guys you feel between those two is going to be your point guard?
Man, I want to ask you about Trey, because you probably know him as well as just about anybody, especially on this panel, right? How do you see him working in that offense, right? Like, I think in an ideal world, you probably have him as the 4-man if Aaron Bradshaw and some of these other and Big Z, some of these other guys that are out are going to play. But if not, he might have to play a lot of small ball 5. Like, how does he fit in as a big guy in a John Calipari offense, which, let's be honest, doesn't really prioritize stretch bigs?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think too. I mean, it was a while ago when I coached him, and in the Atlantic 10, he just dominated the league for 2 years. I mean, I think he led the league in scoring. He was freshman of the year in the league. He was averaging nearly 20 points a game, and a lot of that was spent at the 5. I mean, very rarely did we ever play him at the power 4 spot. But at the 5, when you can put him in a middle pick and pop situation and teams aren't switching, he can really, really shoot. And in the Atlantic 10, I mean, if you go back and even watch his freshman year, I mean, he went toe-to-toe with Obi Toppin when we played him at home. And you could say that he outplayed him. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the biggest question is when he's playing at the 4, how is he guarding pick and rolls? Right? So many teams want to switch 1 through 4. A lot of teams want to switch 1 through 5. But when he's at the power forward spot, how is he guarding pick and rolls, and how are they guarding pick and rolls? I think is the biggest question when you move him over there. Playing him on the perimeter offensively is not an issue. And he can really, really pass. I think that's the other thing about Trey that's really underrated, his ability to make, decisions on the perimeter with his passing. You get passing bigs, it changes your offense. I think the bigger question mark is, offensively at the 4, what's the floor spacing look like? I think that was an issue for them last year at times, was floor spacing around Shigwe. So if he's having to play there, what does the floor spacing look like? And then on defense, if he's at the 4, what are you doing pick and roll coverage-wise?
Thank you for watching The Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.